Hello, Line Nation. My name is Kijik. Some of you I've met, some of you I have not met yet, but hopefully our paths cross in the near future. I'm Ojibwe. I'm from Rama First Nation in Ontario, and I'm the media production manager, and I do most of the photography and video for Side Looking In. I was actually there at the very first performance in Toronto. And I've witnessed the program grow into the force that it is. And it's always been very special to me, and I'm honored to still be involved. I've also watched so many participants in the program grow and develop into not only leaders, but into just people that are dedicated and hardworking, and they're always up for a challenge. So that's why at Outside Looking In, we decided to give you even more challenges. So we're starting off our OLI Summer Challenge with this week's. It's in photography and video. I've decided to call it The View from Here. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm actually going to talk a lot, and then I'm going to show you some pictures that I've taken. I'm also going to show you some video, and I'm going to talk about things that I find interesting. And so hopefully going forward, you'll take those ideas and help to figure out what you're going to do. And so this is your challenge. I want you to create 3 photographs or a 1-minute video. That's it. It seems simple enough, but I really want you to take this challenge on, and I encourage you to really put some time into it and really just kind of go for it and see what you can come up with, because I'm just really interested to see what this project means to you and what you have to share. So the first thing I want to talk about is the what. What does the view from here mean to you? Where are you physically? Where are you mentally, emotionally, spiritually? I mean, it's all 4 quadrants of the medicine wheel. It's like all of these things help create of who you are today as a person. And I mean, like, I can't tell you what it should mean to you. I can only show you how I interpret it. And what I really want you to focus on is the idea of storytelling. Storytelling in its deep tradition with Indigenous people. I mean, we tell stories to teach people. We tell stories in ceremony to help people figure out how to live their lives. We tell stories to entertain and to share. We start conversations and friendships through story. We survive through story, and story survives through us. My dad is a big storyteller. He's now an elder in Rama First Nation, and I remember he would always, drag me to events where he would be invited to come and talk, and he would tell stories about community, stories about my grandfather, my family, my cousins. And I remember just hearing these same stories over and over again. And as a young teenager, I was sort of like, ah, why do I have to keep hearing these stories? I've heard them, I know them. But really thinking about how that helped me develop as a storyteller. And so just from like that experience of being there and hearing him talk, hearing him change things and embellish things. And it always makes me think about one of my favorite movies, Smoke Signals. And it was actually written by Sherman Alexie. And the scene I want to talk about is when Thomas builds a fire, asks Susie's song, to tell a story. And so Susie says to Thomas, "Do you want the truth or do you want lies?" And Thomas replies with, "I want both." And so that's another thing I want you to think about is sometimes we embellish our stories to make them more interesting. We take a creative license to kind of to try to build on something and make it more profound or make it connect with people in another way. I mean, but sometimes the truth is, and so again, I'm going to leave that up to you. So I want to start and show some photographs. So this is a photograph I took, I think it's in Casablanca First Nation, and it's the sunset. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about sunsets. I'm sure a lot of you are here to learn how to take a great photo that people will say, this is a fantastic photo, I love it. And a lot of times we go out and we take photos that could be of a beautiful sunset. And that's cool. What else is there? What else can you do to make that sunset photo interesting? And so this is on one of my walks home from the school, and I saw this fantastic stop sign with the syllabic in it. And I just think it's so important to remember that we as Indigenous people, we have our own language. We have our own ways of writing and communicating. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing to have that syllabics out where people can see it, recognize it, remember it. It really helps them remember who they are and where they are. And I still have a great sun in the background. Something to think about. I'm going to talk about more is a lighting, how it's sort of it's a mood. It creates a mood. There's a warmth to this image. The warmth comes through the color. The warmth comes through this idea of the sun. I mean, we've all felt the sun on our face. We understand what that's like. It's a universal language. And so there are a few different things going on in this image, and that's what I want you to do when you go out and create this week, and when you go out and just create in general. Here's another image. This is also from Casablanca, and I love it because it reminds me of a painting from the Renaissance, and there's three people in the foreground. There's a father lacing up his daughter's skate, which I think is just it's like this wonderful moment captured in time. You see the background, other people skating. I mean, they're out there, they're enjoying themselves, they're being healthy, they're getting physical, they're just being part of this in this cultural moment. And then I love looking at the little details like the boots on the floor. There's a sign in the background, no food, no drinks on the ice, just to kind of remind us that, you know, who we are again and where we are. This was in Penamutang First Nation. I'm always fascinated with this idea of the res dog. What does a res dog mean to you? I mean, to me, I find them so interesting because it's really about resilience. These, a lot of times, you know, they kind of have an owner, they kind of don't have an owner. Sometimes they're fending for themselves, sometimes they're well fed, some are fed by a few different families, but they survive and they make their way through. And I think it really kind of reminds me of how we are as Indigenous people a lot of the time, how, you know, we survive. Okay, back to the who. So what is your subject or your subject's plural? Yes, the who is you, but what's in front of the camera? Are you in front of the camera? So I want you to film or photograph things that have a special meaning to you. This could be people's, places, or things objects that we connect with. Tell me the story of you and where you are right now, how you are and who you are. It's answers to questions and sometimes more questions. That makes any sense. When? This is important. So I've talked about this a lot already. So think about the time of day you're shooting. How's the light? Sunny? Is it snowy? Is it cloudy? Is it foggy? Is it rainy? Try shooting in all of the conditions. Shoot each day, shoot every day. Go home and look at the images that you captured. And I want you to evaluate them. I want you to think about how they fit into the story that you're trying to tell. If they are, that's great. If you feel like there's something missing, you might need to go out and capture that. But I want you to really think about the mood, because sometimes you capture image and it might have been more powerful in different lighting conditions. And so I encourage you to go back and shoot again on a different day at a different time. Some photographs I've made when I'm working on a project, I've gone and reshot them, 4 times with big setups because I just wanted everything to be right. Because sometimes when sort of all the stars align, you can just really helps you to tell that story that you're trying to tell. I mean, on a general note, the best time to shoot on a sunny day is usually very early in the morning. So this is up to 2 hours after sunrise, or late in the evening, usually around 2 hours before sunset. Magic hour is sort of when it's dusk. I mean, the harsh sun has gone down and everything is just sort of, bright and it looks really interesting. A golden hour is right before the sunset when the world glows yellow. And so again, it can help add to that warmth that I was speaking about earlier in the stop sign photo. It's also interesting, depending on where you are on the planet, if far up north, which a lot of our OLI participants and a lot of you here today are, the light is different. And so sometimes you can capture amazing images, early afternoon, lunchtime. It really depends on the sun. But I encourage you to go out and shoot the same thing at different times of day. Okay, I'm gonna go back to some more photos. So this is Mark. This is in Penemutang. He's one of the OLI choreographers. This is an image I captured him early morning in a restaurant just before he's getting ready to teach. And I just think it's an interesting photograph because, I mean, Mark, he's a cool dude. He knows it, but he's very comfortable here. And part of photographing people is helping them to feel comfortable with you, because you have to remember that you're asking them to do something for you. And so the least thing you can do is sort of help them to feel good about it. And so it's thinking about just sort of letting them do their thing. So this is Mark drinking a coffee. And you can see by the light, it looks like it's early in the morning. If you look in the background, the sun is lower in the sky. We also can imagine what time of year it is or where we are just because of what he's wearing. This is also in Penemutang. I just thought this was fascinating, just this idea. So the sign, moose hunting is prohibited. And so it really helps me think about this idea of treaty rights, who we are as an Indigenous people, this history of just living off the land, harvesting things that were put there for us on the earth to survive. And so thinking about how today, how has that changed for some people? For some people, it hasn't really changed a lot. but I feel like, when I see this image, it starts to ask a lot of questions, which is something I'd also talked about earlier. This is also in Pneumatung, hockey. And so thinking about how, these younger people are involved in this huge sport, this like worldwide phenomenon. But, I'm kind of like in it. I'm not on the ice, but I'm very close to the ice. And sort of thinking about, putting yourself in these situations where you can sort of capture a moment, a feeling, and really just letting people connect with it, because I just find it so fascinating that hockey is sort of, it's become this universal thing that, a lot of people love hockey. Even if you don't love hockey, there's still things to look into this image and find them interesting. I mean, the Canadian flag in the background, a couple of kind of random spectators, the referee just hiding against the boards, this sort of, this blue against yellow, these two different teams kind of clashing together, battling it out. How? So people often ask me what kind of camera they should use. And I really encourage you to think less about the equipment and really more about the image itself. I talk about photography and video being the same thing, and they are almost. You can think about video as four still photographs that change every second. And it's just one of those tricks to your brain where you see motion. It's like a flip book, when you draw the little pictures and you flip through it, it looks like it's actually moving. It's not. There's still stills. And so it's something to think about. A great photo on a bad camera is way more interesting than a bold photo on an amazing camera. Again, it's the story that you're telling, and that becomes the most important thing. So again, I could talk for hours and hours. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, wow, this guy is talking hours and hours. I could talk for a long time on how to take a photo. Most of you know how to do that, whether it's on your phone or it's on a camera or a video camera. It's however you can capture that image. If you really want to, there are endless hours on YouTube. I watch them myself all the time because I'm constantly wanting to learn more. It's people talking about how to do specific things. Things like the rule of thirds. So where to place interesting objects in your image, leading lines, foreground and background, depth of field, separation. I mean, the list is endless. So if you thought you were here to learn how to take a nice photo of a sunset, then you came to the wrong place. Unless you can tell me the interesting story about that. There are many different ways of creating images. You can research and come up with a plan and go out and shoot. You can go out and shoot thousands of images and scenes. And by the time you get home, you should have at least one good photo, maybe even a great photo. And if video is your method of choice, you can think about one long shot. So it could be a 1 minute long shot, and things happen during that time. Changes happen. So you can think about with video, is the subject moving? Is the camera moving? A really interesting thing about video is adding sound. Is someone talking and telling the story? Is there music to help sort of create that mood that we keep talking about? So I want you to also think about, are the words that we hear, is it poetry? Is it spoken word? Is it a rap? There are so many different ways to tell a story, and I really encourage you to explore those. And if you have strengths in any of these other things, now is the time to pull those out and sort of just help them add to tell that story. There are lots of ways to edit video. Many computers come with free software. I mean, iMovie is great on a Mac, Windows Media Player on a PC. You can spend thousands of dollars on an editing program, or you can spend nothing. At the end of the day, again, it's about the story that you're trying to tell. Okay, scenes from Webakwe. This is Josie. I felt so privileged to be invited into Josie's house to be able to interview him. So if you've watched our OLI videos, you've seen Josie speaking, and it was just amazing to be there. Josie had his little audience in the house as well, his little, his supporters. These are gloves that these women created. And I think, I'm just really fascinated with image on a lot of levels. One, it's about creating these objects that really celebrate, indigenous culture. These are historical things. These are things that are used for survival. I mean, if you don't have gloves and you're anywhere up north in the winter, you're in trouble. I just love how these are, embellished with beadwork. I mean, the fringe is this. It's actually a survival mechanism. Fringe helps wick water away to keep the glove from getting wet. I love how the little tags are attached to the gloves because these gloves are made to sell. These gloves are income. These gloves are money, if you want to look at it that way. Money that can help you survive in other ways by, purchasing, food or things that you need. I love how the tags are written in syllabics. This idea that these women know what they're doing, and they've created a label to help them, kind of really showcase these objects. I mean, the tablecloth, it sort of speaks to, the house and what the house might be like. It really kind of, when I look at it, it brings me inside of the house. And here's the outside of the house. So this thinking about, all these power lines coming in, this sort of connection to sort of this modern day. We have these two husky dogs. Again, they're surviving, they're out there. We have this wood, another element of survival. I mean, so many things happening here. That the ramp maybe speaks to an elder who needs a ramp just to be able to sort of, get in and out of their homes. And so we really start to think about, again, this idea of survival and sort of what that means. Food. How does food tell a story? So here we have some sun, some bannock, moon, fry bread. It looks like it has raisins in it. I see the raisins in the background. And so I always think it's interesting to think about this food, this sort of, this cultural thing. But I mean, when was white flour and lard introduced to indigenous people? What makes something actually historical? When is it traditional? When did tradition start? I think so many indigenous people, in Canada and around the world have really sort of taken these objects and made them traditional. Here's some real traditional food, fish. And so thinking about this idea of the harvest. This isn't one fish from the grocery store. This is a bunch of fish caught by netting. And this is, this again speaks to survival, thinking about how healthy this is for your body, how your body just loves and craves these traditional foods. And I just thought this was just such an interesting thing to look at. And I felt so privileged being invited in and able to sort of capture this moment of someone, you know, processing a harvest that's going to go and benefit a lot of people and make a lot of people happy. I also really love these gloves. So again, made for kids. It's about survival. It's about tradition. It's about old and new. We have the Peppa Pig fabric and the Thomas the Train fabric. It's like something a kid anywhere who has seen these shows will be able to connect with it. But it's still like this idea of survival. It's this warmth. It's this glove, allowing this kid to be outside and to just, not freeze their hands, but to think about these bringing these traditions together and kind of like physically fusing them together in a way that it just really tells a story of who we are as Indigenous people. So I just find it such a fascinating image. So why? This is really the most important thing that I want you to think about when you go out there. So before or even after you take a photo or shoot some video, I need you to ask yourself why. This really is the most important thing. So why is this meaningful to you? Why would other people be interested to see this? Why do you feel connected to this image or to this story? Because you're taking so much time and energy to create something. So why should you put so much effort into that? So that's it. 3 photographs. But of course, again, you're going to need to take many more than just 3 photos. I encourage you to take lots. Take as many as you can. Fill up your memory card. Take them every day. Look at them together and think about the story that you're trying to tell. What is missing? Do they look good or are they totally different? I mean, both can work. Video. I'm going to show you two videos. First one is about fishing.
I just like outside, um, but I also like to dance, which is both of my favorite things. Or in the summer, I like to go down the lake and touch the water. I like to fish pickerel, walleye, and redfish. I know how to cut fish, but I'm still learning how to cook them because my grandma is teaching me. And also, um, getting taught how to catch like birds and moose and geese and stuff like that.
I love that video. Even though I've watched it many times, it just has such a nice moment. So again, it was such a privilege to, have an OLI participant share this story. And so I just asked her if she wanted to talk about fishing. What was, you know, did she fish? Why did she like doing it? She do it with what it actually means to her. And I just love that part where her grandmother's teaching her how to cook it. It's just such a special thing. It talks about, how do we learn? How do we learn how to survive? Again, such an important thing for indigenous people for, since the beginning of time. I mean, fish is often just everything. And so when I created that video, I basically sat down with the participant and I asked her some questions and I just recorded it all, and then I put it together in a little short story. And then I went out and captured more video of those two people cleaning the fish. And then I put it together in a way where it takes you back and forth between hearing the storytelling and seeing the thing that she's talking about. And another important thing with video, it doesn't always you don't have to show the exact thing that you're talking about. I mean, sometimes that's not as interesting, because remember, the brain can handle multiple information at the same time. So you can talk about one thing and show something. Sometimes it's totally different, sometimes similar, but it just, you know it when you see it. And so that's the thing with video, is it takes a long time to edit. It's like, how do you put these pieces of things together in a way that flows, all of these different clips. I just want to show you one more video. This one's about hockey.
Like he wants to be an NHL hockey player. That's what he loves doing. Like he loves skating.
Hockey is the greatest sport ever. The reason why I like to play hockey is because you can dig out people, you can snake goalies and all that. The stick handling, goalies, the offense, the defense, the body checking on that.
He started skating. His friend taught him down the lake somewhere, but he flipped back and kind of hit his head hard. Then he stopped for like just one day, and then he got up again and started skating.
It's actually it feels good watching hockey for them. One time we were watching one thing, right? Against Buffalo Sabres. We were sitting there for 3 straight hours and we were cheering on for the Jets. Like we mostly hockey, yeah. Because both of us were like really into hockey.
He skates every evening, probably like 3 hours. He skates hours.
It's the greatest sport I've ever played.
I love that video too. Again, I sat down with an OLI participant and he kept telling me how much he loved hockey. And so I said, great, convince me why you love hockey. Tell me the whole story around it. And so this is what we created. And then I was fortunate enough to interview his mom, just sort of talking about him. And I just love how she talks about his commitment to, to something, to anything, to hockey, and just how, he practices every night for hours. This idea that even though he fell, he got back up and he just kept going. He kept trying, he kept pushing forward. And I feel like that really speaks to all of our OLI participants, how it's like, this is hard work. We know this is hard work. But, you guys keep getting up there and you keep pushing forward. And it just, I just get so emotional about it because it's just such a powerful, wonderful thing. And I love it. And I just found it interesting that even though this participant is talking about hockey, but he's also talking about so many other things. He's talking about his connection to his dad and this passion that they share, just watching the game. His mom is just talking about how proud she is of her son, and he's talking about just why hockey is so amazing. And I was able to go and film hockey, and I chose to show that footage in black and white because I really wanted to take this idea of time out of it. It's, try to showcase the timelessness of this sport, because this sport has been happening for a long time. Okay, just wrapping it up. So the other thing I would encourage you to do is really think about sharing these projects online. That part is totally up to you. Creating something special for yourself and putting it out into the world can just be really magical. It's about sharing. Like I said, it can start conversations. You'll be amazed that people will, reply and say, yes, this is I have the same ideas as you. I love what you're saying about this, or this is how I feel about it. And it's just this wonderful thing that can happen. And so again, that part is up to you. And so that's really all I have to say. I'm sure you have a million questions. I'm sure a lot of you were like, yes, but how do I go out and do it? Don't think about so much about how do you go out and do it. Just go out and do it. And you'll learn as you go. And when you have specific questions, you can ask, Dr. Google and find those out. Also, we're here at OLI to help you. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out and ask us, and we can help put you on the path. Thank you so much for watching. And now I want you to go out there and complete the challenge and click the link in the description to fill out the reflection form to be eligible to earn badges. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment to let us know what you thought, and subscribe to the Outside Looking In YouTube channel. So we're going to be teaching a new workshop every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, don't forget to check out and participate in our weekly Alliance workshops with Queenie and Nino. Those are every Thursday, also at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to participate. There are badges. I repeat, badges that you can earn. Very cool. Check out our website, olishow.com, for more information. Look in the description down below. Follow the instructions. Miigwech. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And goodbye.